maybe where Flash Rebels prefers to play.
And speaking of the draft, we are getting right into the draft right now. And Flash Rebels, definitely no Fang of King of the Hill, taking out Lijiang Tower immediately, Hex.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. Maybe my sense on the strengths of the Quake players and the game mode King of the Hill was completely wrong, but it's interesting that Lijiang Tower is immediately out. What's not so interesting is that Temple of Anubis is the next banned by G2 Esports.
Yeah, G2, of course, not a big fan of the capture point maps. I'm not sure anyone really is, but Temple of Anubis is sort of the... It has to be the most banned in the first round of bans, I think, of any other map in the game.
Of the capture point maps, it seems to be the most lauded.
And yet, when I pub in Overwatch, I feel like I get Temple of Anubis in 40% of my games. I know I don't, but the impact of that map is so strongly felt that it's just like, wow, another Temple of Anubis game.
I feel if you're having a bad session, you're just attacking Anubis constantly. I think I had like 30 minutes attacking Anubis the other night, and I just turned the game off.
Yeah, I mean, Temple of Anubis, I think, historically, it's one of the older maps in the game in terms of development. It was one of the very first things to be developed, so from a developer point of view, there's probably some nostalgia around the map, but I do think of any of the maps in Overwatch, Temple is the most in need of a rework.
Yeah, I've got some ideas for fixes that I'm going to try to be detailing sometime this week, but to catch up on the draft, Flash Rebels then also banned Hanamura and Numbani, and G2 followed up with a ban of Volskaya, so it looks like we are not going to see any capture points in our first round.
No, definitely not. Capture points are out of there. Nepal is still on the table. We'll see if Flash Rebels leaves it up or not. I think of the capture point, or of the King of the Hill maps, Nepal is a little bit more loved than Lijiang. I'm not really sure why that is, but we definitely seem to see more Nepal than Lijiang Towers thus far.
Yeah, Lijiang has a very strange, I think it's the third point where it's all indoors and it's a really brutal circle that I think a lot of teams are just having trouble figuring out. I actually got lost on the map yesterday. That's how kind of unfamiliar I am with it. There's a weird upstairs area that doesn't do much. It's just strange all around. But we do see Nepal actually get banned out as well, so no King of the Hill.
Yep, no King of the Hill coming today, but I was expecting to go to Gibraltar, going to King's Row, but instead we are going to Gibraltar.
Yeah, I like Gibraltar. It seems like it's fallen out of favor with some of the teams as far as payload maps go. I was playing on it with Eccentric the other day, and Eccentric notably bans out Gibraltar almost immediately first time. So I was playing with it. I was trying to understand why they didn't like it, and I think it's once that first point is captured by the offense,
Yes.
they can get pushed back really hard. Like there's only 2 or 4 doors of entry, and they're all the size of one person. You get spammed out, so it's really hard to really gain entrance into that hangar area, and we're going to see if the teams can overcome that hurdle on Gibraltar.
Yeah, Gibraltar, not the most... Wait, it just went to King's Row. I wonder if this is one of those things where they accidentally banned the wrong thing, perhaps? Not actually sure what's going on here. They're also saying the lobby needs to be remade. Or they just pick King's Row on accident, now they can't switch the map. I'm not really sure. But we are remaking the lobby. We think we're going to Gibraltar, although there is a small possibility that we're actually, in fact, going to King's Row.
We're going somewhere. That's the real point here. It's the real takeaway.
We are going somewhere.
Getting this day started off. Either way, it's a traditional kind of Overwatch map, if you will. King's Row, the staple Overwatch map that I think everyone kind of associates with the Overwatch competitive scene. We've seen so many games on it. Gibraltar also pretty up there as well, but some teams have been moving away from Gibraltar. Based on some of the hero compositions that we've seen, it just gets really tough to break through doors. It is reminiscent of control points in that one section of the map, so that's why teams have been steering away from Gibraltar.
Yeah, we'll see what they decide to go with over the course of the day here. But, you know, really, King's Row has been so overplayed that I wonder if some teams are saying, you know what, if everyone else is comfortable on King's Row, why don't we get comfortable on other maps and start taking out King's Row? Sort of a idea of denying the meta pick because you're familiar with a, different form of the meta. And it does look like we are actually being on Gibraltar. There was no mistake. The mistake, I guess, is I was set to King's Row when it needed to be on Gibraltar.
Okay. If you're in lobby, I want you to toss me an invite. I don't know if we have a lobby up or not.
The lobby just came up. I mean, personally, I was planning on abandoning you.
Well,
but
see, clearly I have abandonment issues that I have to ask you immediately because I've been left out of 1 or 2 games here and there. So I gotta make sure.
It does happen. It does happen. So, both teams getting in here. It's looking like if the attack side's found, it's going to be Flash Rebels on the attack first. For those who weren't here at the very beginning of the cast, Flash Rebels, a team with a pretty strong Quake background. Notable players, of course, including Dahang and ID, so curious to see what they bring to the table today against a very veteran G2 Sep. And also, so earlier we were saying that Pluppy was playing with Mix-Up on NA, but it appears that for today he's actually going to be playing with G2, so
he's doing both. He's a high demand mercenary right now. I mean, when you play as well as he did in our last tournament and you were just wrecking people on defense to Soldier 76, then people who need players and with Eccentric kind of in turmoil right now, not turmoil, but, you know, a bit of a nebulous form, that Pluppy is available. And so people who need a player, just, why not? Why not grab Pluppy? And Pluppy's happy to oblige.
Yeah, and so I'm not exactly sure what his team situation is. I guess it's sort of things where he's trying out different teams, but that means you're going to have Shadowburn and Pluppy on the same team, and they were sort of overlapping roles before, but now this will let, you know, maybe one of them will be on Genji, the other one will be on a Soldier or McCree or otherwise, and they'll switch it up a bit.
It's a lot of fragging talent on that team. Yeah, I mean, there's really no better way to say it. Both those guys can kill you immediately from a lot of different offensive classes. So a lot of talent that Frag Rebels are going to have to deal with. Flash Rebels, my bad.
Frag Rebels? I mean, they might as well be called Frag Rebels with all that former Quake experience on their team. I mean, we should just tell them to change their team name at this point, actually.
It would be easier for me. If we could get that done, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you guys aren't flashing anymore, you're just fragging.
Maybe they'll play McCree. They'll flash and frag.
There you go. I mean, really the best of both worlds.
Depending on what side of the flash you're on.
Yeah, McCree, interesting hero. It's sort of a hero where after he got nerfed way back in the day, people were touting his demise very prematurely because he's really been a mainstay in comp really pretty much forever.
It really speaks to how strong he was even pre-nerf then, right? Because they nerfed his damage, they give it damage fall off, I believe was the actual nerf. And he's still, you have to run a McCree a lot of the time. The distance damage is just too good, the ultimate's too good. So pre-nerf McCree was ungodly.
Yeah, he was really, really, really good. And it looks like we are in game now. It is Flash Rebels versus G2.
So it'd be interesting to see what Rebels runs here, if they're going to run kind of standard compositions based on what everyone else runs. The meta is not exactly forced, but there are some heroes that you feel are always good to run. But as a new team, it's going to be interesting to see what their style is.
Yeah, definitely. And it's looking, let's take a look at the defense first, because we know that the attack can mix up quite a bit before it is all said and done. Look at the G2 roster. It looks like we got Numlocked repping the Reinhardt, Forsaken on Lucio, Mikey on Soldier 76, so that really has not changed from last week. Nox on Zenyatta, Shadowburn on Reaper, and Pluppy rounding out on the McCree.
There's so many bullets on that team. That's so much hit scan. I don't know if Reaper is really hit scan because you don't really shoot that far away. I mean, he is technically, but it's kind of in your face. He might as well be a melee hero at some point. But that is a lot of damage for the defense right there. But it's good distance damage. I like the McCree and I like the 76.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, meta-wise, I've heard that there's been more of a shift to 3 DPS rather than double tanks. So I'm curious to see if that is going to sort of keep up as time goes on here.
Offensively, it looks like the Flash Rebels are going to run Reaper on IID. Clampock is going to be Winston. Zen on the all-important Lucio. A Reaver, offensive Widowmaker on offense. Shane Ghost is going to be running the Reinhardt. And Dahang on Mercy. So we see an offensive Widow and a Mercy.
Yeah, the offensive Widow, that's pretty interesting. I mean, it's not unprecedented. We've seen people do it a lot. And Reaper immediately taking out G2 Nox for first play of the game. Nice snipes coming out from Reaper, and he takes out the Lucy as well. So just like that, Flash Rebels picking up 2 quick pickoffs, and they're going to cruise to the first checkpoint, Hex.
Yeah, that's a quick 2 kills from the Widowmaker there in their crucial kills, too. It's on the Zenyatta. Though G2 is able to follow up with a couple frags of their own, this card's moving pretty quick to this first point.
G2 was able to equalize here. We see Reaper still going for pickoffs, is able to take out the Soldier, so some nice stuff coming out from Reaper there. Great picks, but those early picks were able to allow Flash Rebels to just sort of move to the first checkpoint with ease.
Yeah, they kind of got to be careful. Well, never mind. They spotted out the Reaper going to the back lines. They look really coordinated right now.
Yep, and right now we just sort of see G2's trying to get coordinated going in. We see Numlocks going in with the charge. Are they going to take out Winston? Yes, fan the hammer goes down, but look at this Reaper flank coming in from ID. ID was able to take out the Zenyatta, and now G2 without their healer.
Yeah, Shadowburn comes in the back trying to do his own Reaper work for G2, but a good Mercy movement ability there gets her away from it, and this Mercy is just all over the battlefield.
Yeah, Mercy has been doing a lot of work. Plumpy was able to win versus ID moment here, but we have the Reinhardt ult going down, and both teams fighting out here. Shadowburn able to take out Zen very quickly, sort of stabilize a bit for G2, but it doesn't matter. They were able to get to the checkpoint X.
They got to the point, and a lot of times this first point is almost just conceded by the defense, and you know, they didn't concede that there, but that was a really strong offensive push there to get them through this point.
Actually, did they? Pretty sure they got to checkpoint. The door is open. I didn't hear the actual sound, though, so I'm a little confused.
Well, regardless, this door's open. We're going to enter the hangar phase of Gibraltar.
Yep.
Now, this is one of the interesting parts of this map. A lot of high ground, definitely a defender's advantage for the most part. So it's going to be interesting to see if they get stalled out here, which is this section of the map has been the bane of some teams' existence.
Very much so, but taking a look at their offense here, Zen is ready to drop the sound barrier at any moment. There it is, and in comes Flash Rebels. They're going to push us down and try and make something happen off this Lucio ult, but look at how G2 just immediately backed out. They didn't suffer a single death, and Lucio's ult was kind of wasted there.
Yeah, they didn't really get the aggression there because G2 didn't allow them to do it. They just defended very well. Here comes the defensive transcendence as well.
Yeah, they're coming in on that, and they're going to take out Reinhardt and effectively most of Flash Rebels in one fell swoop. Numlocked leading the charge, and as a result, G2 is going to hold here and make Flash Rebels have to reset.
We still have an offensive sniper up on top of the shuttle. She's got her infrared sight up, maybe looking for a couple clean picks here.
Yeah, and she needs to get the... Widowmaker does have that one-shot ability to get those pickoffs, but she is very much exposed. They know she's up here. So she has to be very careful on how she handles this. And look at, here comes Shadowburn taking her out in short order. So now this is going to stall out the offensive push just a bit because they have to wait for Reaver to respawn if they want to take a 6v6.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time. It's going to be interesting to see if she comes back on Widowmaker. It does not. It is going to be a McCree coming out instead once that ultimate's down, but they're 4 dead. They need to regroup here.
Yeah, they absolutely need a regroup. And actually, look at, we see Mikey hitting Lucio with a big Helix rocket. And yeah, I mean, GC is looking strong here. They are really stymieing the Flash Rebels offense in the hangar.
What is good for Flash Rebels, though, is they do have a lot of imported ultimates up. Both their tank ultimates are up, both on Winston and Reinhardt, and they have the Mercy Resurrection up, so they can possibly go for a very aggressive offense, knowing that they can sacrifice and resurrect.
Yeah, you will see teams do that where they will be very aggressive, and you know they do that because, as you say, they know that they have the Resurrect up, they know that they can do that, but sometimes it's hard to get those reses off in New Mercy. We see now Winston going in, trying to do pull stuff out, but Transcendence comes out from the Zenyatta, going to help the defensive hold. Shadowburn, meanwhile, in the back line, and wow, Shadowburn and Plumpy being the Bash Brothers take out 2 members of Flash Rebels.
Yeah, the resurrection comes off. It's not going to be enough. The problem right now is that they haven't taken hold of this shuttle, which they're trying desperately to now with their combo. But a little earlier, Shadowburn was up there denying them. He took down the Pharah earlier and then was in the back line with really no threats against him. They need to take this high ground to be able to advance at all.
And wow, what a nice shot from Plumpy. Finishing off ID, fanning the hammer, taking out Clamp, and this is really, really nice defense coming out from G2 right now.
This is the section of the map that I was talking about. Once this door closes, it gets absolutely brutal to push from your spawn through these doors. All these doors are small. They can be spammed out really easily. And sometimes we see a defense get really aggressive and just go to the other side and start camping your spawn. It's one of the few maps that I see spawn camped regularly.
Take a look at Shelburne here. Shelburne trying to be a little bit deceptive, climbing the wall here, and looking to drop down whenever someone comes in. Sort of interesting play coming from Shelburne. He does have Dragon Blade up, and I gotta think he's gonna be looking to use it any moment now. What a nice reflect! ID just clobbered himself off the reflect. What great plays coming out from Shadowburn. Wow.
Yeah, and it continues in the back line, and now they're up on their spawn. It just gets really tough from here to try to break through these doors. It becomes a coordinated effort. We almost have to use ultimates just to get into the hangar, and then you're kind of stuck out without ultimates trying to take the high ground. It's a tough map once that door closes.
That can be very, very tough, and man, that was just some amazing play from Shadowburn. I'm glad we caught that. And now look at the ultimate situation right now. G2 with a entirely full rack of ultimates. This is going to be very difficult for Flash Rebels to sort of get through and reset.
Yeah, Flash Rebels kind of needs their offensive support ultimates right now. They need that Transcendence, but it's a little too late. He's dead.
Yeah, we have Plumpy coming in. Genji does go down, but doesn't matter. Look at this rush down coming from G2. Ultimates are blown, but to great effect. Flash Rebels is going to get wiped out again. And just nice combination from the entirety of the G2 defense.
Yeah, the hitscan classes are going crazy. I mean, Pluppy, of course, is killing it on McCree, but then you got Mikey there to clean up anything that he's not able to annihilate by himself, and then Shadowburn's in there just causing havoc in the back lines, and the front line has just been solid.
And taking a look at Shane here, we do have somewhat of an ultimate advantage coming in for Flash Rebels going to this now, but really the payload has been stuck where it's at now for really the last 4 to 5 minutes of the game. Flash Rebels is going to do something. They need to make something happen now. We do have a charge coming in from Shayna's Ghost, not able to really hit on the mark and look at the back line. Numlocked and Pluppy are going crazy.
Yeah, they're trying to counter the Zenyatta and Genji combination by running their own Zenyatta and Genji, which we've found to be a very effective counter, but Shadowburn is playing really well on Genji, and I'm not sure that that's the strategy that Flash Rebels really wanted to employ, and they're kind of pushed into it, and that's never a good thing for a team to have to run a strategy they're not really comfortable with.
Yeah, Flash Rebels now, they are switching to a double Winston combination here. I think they're just desperate to make something happen here, hopefully, hoping that the Winston barrier fields will be enough to do what they need to do. We do see Reaper now sort of poking back and forth, or Reaper poking back and forth with Pluppy, and really Flash Rebels needs to get ahead right now.
I like the change in theory because what these Winstons can do is they can take the high ground for you. We just saw Winston go on top of the shuttle, and not only he's just causing chaos right now. He does get cleaned up on top. There's still a lot of kills. In theory, the composition's really good, but they just got full wiped.
Yeah, again, you just sort of saw Shadowburn and Pluppy sort of combining their powers, taking out 2 kills apiece, and really the counter hit scanning coming out from Flash Rebels was just not enough to turn the tide there.
They were doing the best when they were running the offensive Widowmaker. Now maybe you go back to that with a minute left and try to start picking off not the support classes, but you start picking off the Soldier 76 and the McCree just so your team can move in without getting absolutely plucked.
Yeah, taking a look at Shadowburn here right now. Shadowburn has the Pharah Mercy combo in his sights, doing a lot of damage to ID, not even caring about the Mercy heal. Oh no, Dehang is in his sights. He is going to get taken down in short order. Pluppy taking out the Pharah, and again, 3 members down for Flash, and this is just not good for them at all, Hex.
No, I mean, this is kind of what I thought was going to happen on this map. For a while, I was really pushing Gibraltar. I'm like, I don't understand why teams don't like Gibraltar. It's a really fun map. I have a good time with it in pubs. That shuttle room's really fun. But if you've been in this situation more than once, you completely understand. It's the fact that door closes behind you.
Shadowburn just got a mid-air reflect rocket. That was great. Mikey right now is able to take out Winston. Both teams sort of trading kills, but you know what? They're happy to just trade and stop because they're about to have a full hold, Hex.
Yeah, even a disconnect on Flash Rebels. I don't know if that was premature or if that is an error, but it looks like even with that disconnect, they were going to be stopped easily. A good showing from G2 early on.
Yeah, I mean, it was looking a little bit shaky in the beginning. We had some nice picks coming out from Reaver as Widowmaker, but really G2 pulled it together in the hangar and just looked very dominant.
Yeah, those Widowmaker picks were amazing. Right away, it takes out the Zenyatta, it takes out another player, and I really thought that Flash was going to be able to make some noise on this map, but again, the door closing behind them really closed their chances to keep this map going.
Yep, so it looks like we do have a crash here, and we might be going back to lobby, or maybe he's rejoining, who knows, but man, look at the kill streak on Pluppy at the end. Pluppy, I think, died once early in the game, and then did not die after that. A 28-player kill streak. That is crazy for a competitive game.
Yeah, it almost feels unfair sometimes. G2 already had a really strong roster, already like mechanically sound players, TF2 backgrounds. Again, I've mentioned Shadowburn before. If you want to see what TF2 soldiering is all about, check out his frag videos. It's crazy. And then you just had Pluppy in the mix, like no big thing, who was the best player in the tournament last week. Like, come on. It's a bad draw for Flash Rebels to have to go against a team that is just throwing down the pure mechanical skill, because maybe that's where their strengths lie, but you're up against a team that is equal. You're equal in that aspect.
Yeah, all right, so we're not actually sure if we are remaking just yet, but this is going to be G2 versus Flash Rebels, and all G2 has to do to win is bring the cart past the hangar, which can be easier said than done.
Yeah, we've seen that this choke point is really tough, and maybe they employed a little different strategy to try to get through it. I think the biggest mistake that Flash Rebels made was not really prioritizing that high ground. Now, of course, it's easier said than done when you've got people up there you're going to have to kind of sack in for it, which is why I like the Winston strat. When you saw the Winstons come in, you saw them immediately try to take down this shuttle, but there were a lot of times in moments in fights where if they had just controlled that shuttle a little better, I think the fight would have gone differently for them.
Now, interesting, I wonder here if this is a case where G2 is going to steal what worked for Flash Rebels, because we see Pluppy now on the Widowmaker. Of course, it is in the attacking part, he could just switch back to something else, but I would not be surprised at all to see them put Pluppy on Widow for the sort of early attack.
No, and especially where the teams are holding back on this map, it looks like we're going to remake, but Widowmaker is actually relatively safe to run on offense here because the teams hold so far back on this high ground, and there's some really good sight lines for her. So it looks like we are going to remake.
Okay, looks like the remake is going to be a thing here.
So wait, you buy any new skins lately? Got any good loot lately?
Buy any new skins? You know, really, I just keep getting legendary currency.
It's not bad.
That
though,
is my that is my lot in life.
Yeah, I got my first legendary drop. First legendary crate had 2 legendaries in it. I had currency and Winston Undersea. I was pretty happy.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, I immediately bought a Pharah skin right away with that currency.
Yeah, the thing is for me is that I like some of the legendary skins, but I don't know which one I like enough to actually spend currency on. That feels like a really big decision.
It's 1,000 currency. It's a lot. Where you look at it and you're like, I could get 4 skins for this, or I could get hero intros. There's so much stuff.
Yeah, you look at it, it's just sort of, I don't know, it's sort of, you have indecision on it. It's just sort of like, well, what do I really want to get with this? Even though everything's getting wiped anyways, the progress right now is not permanent, so it's not like you're really making a long-lasting decision, and yet, still a little paralyzed by it.
It's that buyer's remorse. You know, immediately I bought the white skin for Pharah, and I'm like, oh, I should have got the black skin. Immediately.
Yep. Right now, I'm just waiting for teams to get back in the lobby and fully remake.
Right,
but
you know, while we have a second here, just give another quick shout out. Just because we have new sponsors, I want to make sure everyone's familiar with them. Matcherino is on board this week. They're thrown into the prize pool. The crowdfunding, esports, all that in general. Matcherino.com. Check them out. Look at their platform. We're going to be doing more stuff with them. We're going to expand their role as our tournaments go on through the coming weeks. And of course, DX Racer jumped on board with us as well. That chair sponsor, those nice chairs. And of course, our first sponsor, Rocket, purveyors of fine mice and keyboards and other gaming accessories. So big thanks to all those guys. Without them, it is not possible for us to bring you these tournaments. So thank you to our sponsors.
Absolutely. And just as a note for those who haven't been keeping track, the addition of these additional sponsors means that the base prize pool now is $360. And noting how Matcherino sort of goes into it, in future weeks, you'll be able to actually throw in and help support the teams directly, and the prize pool could go to much greater heights. So we'll have to see how that works out. That'll be, of course, dependent on the Matcherino platform and the support of you guys. But really, the future for Overwatch esports from a prize money perspective alone is growing very, very rapidly.
The growth that we've had in the last couple of weeks is just exponential. And I know you and I right now, we're doing the Ghosty, but we're casting all sorts of tournaments all weekend. Everyone wants in on this Overwatch action, and I can't blame them. I cast all weekend, and then once I'm done casting, I start playing, and then I play all week, and then I cast all weekend. I get it, man. I get it.
Yep. All right. So casters are ready. And we're going to be getting into Gibraltar once again. The players are back in it. And for those who are just tuning in, we had a very strong defensive hold by G2 on the first stage of Gibraltar. And it's going to be up to Flash Rebels to really pose an even more formidable defense if they want to bring this map to a draw or outright win it.
Yeah, they're going to have to put together an extremely stellar defense. Looking at the strength of the G2 roster, just how well they played last round, it's going to be a very, very difficult task.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you expect to see any change-ups here from what we saw in the last game?
I think we're going to see their defensive roster is going to look a little different. Obviously, they're not going to run a defensive Widowmaker, which, honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing from them. Run to your strengths right now after that game just went the way it did. But I don't see grand meta-breaking changes out of them. Not so far. So I'll look at the defense right now. Dahang is going to be running on Mercy. IID is going to run a Reaper. Clampak Zarya on defense here is going to be running the tank. Zarya, I think, is actually really great on this map because her Graviton Surge can really lock down some of those chokes and even make those wide open areas in the shuttle feel much more cramped. Reaver, who we saw play Widowmaker last round, is going to run a McCree on defense. Zen is going to be Lucio, and Reinhardt is going to be played by Shayna's Ghost. So rounding out with Lucio Reinhardt, as always.
Yeah, and I'm really happy to see Zarya here. Zarya, I think, is one of the strongest heroes in the game, and sometimes underpicked in comp play. Her shield can really ruin the days of people who try and get in the backline and get pickoffs, among other things.
I think she can be underpicked in comp because they play around giving her damage by hitting her shields.
You know, the thing is, though, the 4 seconds of shielding, even if you don't hit the shield, can be so effective for a hero like Fair, but the gates are open. Let's take a look at Pluppy. Pluppy is going to be running the Widowmaker, so we're going to see, will he be able to get the picks like Reaver did in the last stage of this map?
Yeah, and he's taking the same route as Reaver did. He's going to be on that high right angle, high left angle, depending on your viewpoint. And just some really aggressive front lining from the Assassins of G2. Shadowburn, of course, in with the orb. 76 is back there following it up.
Yeah, and really, you just sort of see Flash giving up a lot of ground here, and Pluppy is going to get first blood of the game, does get the pick on ID, and they cruise to the first checkpoint very, very quickly, Hex.
Yeah, Flash Rebels seems like defense on roller skates right now. They just move back and back and back, and wow, 3 kills, 4 kills. Oh, the kill feed is very one-sided in favor of G2.
But it was a team effort. Aside from Pluppy picked up 2 kills with Widowmaker, everyone had some participation there. It was a full team effort coming out from G2, and look at this. They're just getting to this checkpoint with ease.
Yeah, this is really cool. Shadowburn is up here with Pluppy, kind of defending the Widowmaker as it were, and then he sees opportunities, goes in, and causes all more chaos. The Dragon Blade comes out.
Yeah, Shadowburn able to get 2 people at the Dragon Blade. Will he be able to pick up a third? It doesn't matter because Numlock says, you got a sword, I got a hammer. He hammers down the other Reinhardt before Shadowburn can even slice him. And this is just dominance coming out from G2 right now.
Yeah, that's gotta feel so helpless that Shadowburn's in your face with the orb on him, and then even if you can dodge him, there's a sniper behind. You dodge all that, and then you get hit in the face with a hammer.
Oh, that was beautiful by Shadowburn. The triple headshot on the Reaver, followed by the dash, instantly killing him, forcing out the res from Flash, but Flash has not been able to do anything in this game. Flash Rebels just really struggling to find their footing.
Yeah, they have not had a moment in this game where it looked like they were going to be able to start putting up the defense. Pluppy picks Farah out of the sky. Shadowburn again on Reaver. They are trying to take this high ground. You've got Mercy with Winston trying to hold this top.
Mercy's life is going to be very, very limited here. Is going to get taken out by Shadowburn. And this is just not at all going how they want. Take a look at Mikey. Mikey's so pushed up at 76, and they are about to get to the checkpoint. And that is it. GG. G2 takes map 1 from Flash Rebels in just a absolutely dominant fashion. That was amazing, Hex.
That was rough, and I feel for Flash Rebels in that, because it just seemed like unfair, just the amount of damage and talent they have running these offensive classes, and just the aggression that G2 brought.
Well, I think the problem for Flash Rebels is that Flash Rebels is never able to really settle down and regroup. Once those first picks happened, it was just chain death after chain death. You had effectively the front line of G2 pushing really far up, and they got just value for days.
Yeah, Overwatch is interesting like that, where the deaths and the staggering of deaths really does feel like kind of a MOBA mechanic, where you really can't be trickling in deaths and staggering deaths and constantly fighting 4v6, etc. And they never were able to mount an effective defense just from word one. They got out of the gate and they just kept going backwards and backwards and dying and backwards and dying, and that was brutal. G2 looks really strong today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's the addition of Pluppy that's really sending them over the top or not, but they seem even stronger than they were last week. Yeah,
and they played well last week, so this is definitely the team to watch on this side of the bracket so far. But, you know, I've been wrong about that before. We'll see what other teams are coming through the bracket who's going to have to face G2 plus Pluppy.
Yep. Play the game comes out, Pluppy as Widow. Let's take a look. Oh man, does he get the McCree here too?
Yep.
That is beautiful.
It's wall hacks, man. He's got wall
23% wall hack uptime. Wow.
That's a lot of red cards right there. G2 looking phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, Flash Rebels, don't count them out. They have a lot of talent on their team, but man, I hope they're a little bit more comfortable on the next map than they were on Gibraltar, because G2 just, they just look so strong.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen that out of teams that just have a little more experience. The experience in this game ends up meaning so much. Just knowing maps a little bit better, knowing your team, knowing what people are going to do, knowing how to follow up damage, all of those things really come over time in the rhythm of a team. So, um, not the most surprising result. It's surprising in the way and the speed in which that map went.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go to the next map. Hopefully I'll have the draft for you guys very shortly here. And yeah, so what do you think Flash Rebels needs to change up to sort of counter that sort of wave of offensive pressure coming from G2?
You know, I wouldn't mind seeing something like a tracer, just something annoying and with a little bit of its own sustainability, something to pull them back so that they can't just hang out and push all their offensive classes to the front line. One of the problems there was that all their frag classes were mostly unharassed and able to do what they were able to do whatever they wanted. So they were able to be very aggressive. Now, if you have someone harassing the back line, say like a Genji, like they tried with limited success, or a tracer, someone to really just pull the team's focus away and allow the rest of the team to work and fill space might be a good strategy.
Yeah, that would definitely be helpful. So teams not wasting any time today. We are already getting into the next draft. So let's take a look. Looks like we have Temple of Anubis being taken out immediately by G2. They really do not like that map. Flash Rebels taking out Hollywood as a first ban. So that's I guess that's new.
Well, we saw, I mean, maybe that's the Pluppy ban, right? We saw Pluppy play defense on Hollywood last week and just hang out in the little cafe above first point and just pick people off all day. So that might be a player-specific map ban.
Yeah, very, very likely. Gibraltar, by the way, being the first ban for Flash Rebels, so they want absolutely no part of Gibraltar for this next series, just taking it out immediately. If you're on G2, you have to feel a little bit good about that, saying, yeah, you know, you don't want to fight us on that map again.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, man. I get it.
So,
we might be going to King of the Hill. 2 left. King of the Hill or King's Row. We're going to something related to Kings, that's for sure.
Yep. Well, Nepal and Kings Row are the 2 maps that are left here. I wonder if G2 will force it to Nepal, and they do. G2 bringing Flash Rebels to Nepal.
Awesome.
So,
I love King of the Hill. I love Nepal. I think it's the better of the King of the Hill maps. A lot of people falling off the edges all throughout these games. I'm interested to see the compositions. I imagine we'll see a lot of Winstons here. Hopefully some Winstons, and then some Pharahs knocking people off the edge too.
yeah, very, very likely. So, the interesting thing here is going to be, will we see Reinhardt's coming out from either team on Nepal? I think he is viable on this map, but you do see him a little bit less than you see him on payload maps where he's sort of a must-pick hero.
Yeah, I know how crazy it is that we were talking about Reinhardt and saying, look, I think he's viable. Reinhardt was the staple. As you build your team around a Reinhardt, he starts and everyone else follows. But this new map mode has opened up a lot of new avenues for different types of tanks. I see a lot of Roadhogs on these types of maps too. He's got his own sustain, and his ultimate, again, with that knockback and that positioning is also really strong too. So do you want to go Reinhardt? Do you want to go Winston? You really have that strong point, but I guarantee we're seeing Lucio's. That much I know.
Yep. So, taking a look at this, we do have G2 repping as the blue team, and we have Flash Rebels as the red team here. Just a note for people watching, the colors aren't 100% final for spectator mode in King of the Hill. It's a little bit beta-ish here, so it will be swapping back and forth. That is out of our control. I know it can be a little bit hard to follow, but that's a thing that I'm sure will get fixed as time goes on for the spectator mode.
Yeah, we are still in beta. Little kinks to work out here and there, but overall pretty polished product. And I'm not going to complain because beta's back.
Yep.
All right, so I saw for a moment that Flash was running double Lucio, and I got really excited because I really like that idea on this map. If you're going to run 2 supports, why not double Lucio? Because in the case of those staggered deaths, you might be back at spawn with one of those 2 Lucios and get back into the fight much quicker, and they are going to go with the double Lucio composition here for the rollout.
Yep, and also taking a look from the G2 side, we have Shadowburn with the Zenyatta orb on him, so they just want to let Shadowburn go absolutely crazy to start out this game.
Yeah, we have 2 Zaryas, though, from Flash. An interesting strategy. I don't think I've ever seen 2 Zaryas
oh
in the game.
My god, really Shadowburn just deleted Reaver from the game, got Zenyatta out, a triple kill coming up from Shadowburn, quad kill coming up from Shadowburn.
Yeah,
That is that's some pretty decisive Genji gameplay.
that was pretty good. Pretty good stuff there.
It actually it reminds me of a nickname of a friend of mine. It goes back to an older game where it's from, but Genji Sports. It has esports in it, but it's really just saying sports after Genji, and we are definitely seeing some serious Genji sports here in the beginning of Nepal as G2 took the first point with ease.
I like the flash composition here. I think it's a cool in concept. Look how fast they're moving. Everyone is shielded up. This Zarya is trying to get work done, but however, that she needs to take damage to be able to do damage.
Yeah, and we do see Flash Rebels coming in, making a pretty big statement on top of the point, but again, Dragon Blade is coming out now for Shadowburn. Shadowburn's able to take out one. Will he be able to take another? He is in the back line. Lucio has a Discord Orb. He takes out Lucio. He's coming in again. And we have both Zaryas on there, but they don't have a whole lot of support at this point, Hex.
Now, and Zarya doesn't have a ton of her own self-sustain aside from her own shields, but beyond that, the health pool's a little smaller than some other tanks, not able to heal up by herself, and they're not going to be able to hold that point. They both go down, and the point flips over to G2.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Flash Rebels was able to get in there and get some good cap on the point. They really had to give the Zarya comp that they're running a bit of space, but overall, in terms of kills and map presence, it's really gone the G2 so far on stage 1 of Nepal.
I just noticed now that Flash even had time on the point. I have no idea how that happened based on the frags that begun this map, but now they do switch off one of the Zaryas onto a Winston. I also think that's a good call. The defensive transcendence comes in to try to stop this push.
Yeah, taking a look at Reaver right now as Reaver's trying to do this. We do have the Deadeye coming out from him. Will he be able to get that out? No, he won't. The sound barrier really just deflecting a lot of that. And again, here comes G2 just absolutely out-fragging Flash Rebels here.
Yeah, both the Lucios went down there, and Lucio is one of those characters that you feel you don't really have to babysit as a support. He's got his own sustain, so much maneuverability that he can usually get out of a lot of situations, but they don't have anyone kind of guarding that Lucio right now, and that's been a problem as both of them died.
Yeah, and Shadowburn has been so effective at getting into the backline. They have not really had a solution to him as he takes out Reaper there, and now he's going to be able to go crazy on both Reaver and the Lucios in the backline. Here comes the Dragon Blade. Here comes Genji. 1 down, 2 down, 3 down. Shadowburn making mincemeat out of the entirety of the Flash Rebels team, and this is just a slaughter, Hex.
Yeah, one of their Lucio ults came in there offensively, and it was a bit of a last-ditch effort, but I don't think it hit everyone it needed to hit. It wasn't timed properly. The entire team was split out during that Lucio ult, so I understand that they were just running out of time, and it was necessary, but not the most effective use of it in that instance.
Yep.
I like the double Reaper, though. That could be an interesting tag. They're really doubling up on heroes, trying to figure out something that works.
Yeah, I mean, they need to find something soon because if G2 takes the stage, this is going to be a very quick exit for Flash Rebels in the EU Cup today.
I think the problem, again, and you asked me what I would add to this conversation, I would do something to ruin the backline. The problem is not Shadowburn, even though it looks like it. The problem is Nox. Nox has barely died. He's staying on the Zenyatta. That orb is up the whole time. Discord's melting people, and Shadowburn has no worries in the world.
Yeah, I mean, a Tracer here could actually be pretty effective for Flash Rebels, the one that's put a Tracer on top of the Zenyatta. But a lot of teams not too comfortable with running Tracer just yet. A lot of teams not even thinking she's really worth playing at the moment, so a little bit of dissension there.
Right. Either way, they need to focus the back line. They've got heroes to do it. They could put the Reaper back there, they could put the Genji back there, but something has to pull them out of the position, and they need to start killing Nox. I'm not sure if Nox has died in this entire set.
Both teams trying 1-for-1 there. Mikey, though, able to get the pick on ID, and this is going to most likely lead to G2 rushing in and just cleaning up the rest of the Flash Rebels team. But Flash Rebels able to go 1-for-1, though Mikey now able to take out Shane and just sort of really push Flash Rebels back, and first control of the point is going to go to G2.
No, actually, Flash Rebels had that for a little bit. Surprisingly, again, even though they're losing
yeah, they did.
these fights,
Yeah, oh yeah, they
these
did.
Points. Yeah, it's very
yeah, they did
very
grab that
strange
for a
to
moment.
see.
So I stand corrected, but G2 is going to take control of the point in the sense of being ahead now. So now it's up to Flash Rebels to sort of get back on and do what they can to reverse momentum of this game.
Yeah, it just speaks to the different strategies. Flash is going for, they're prioritizing the point presence, but then they're dying afterwards and giving it right back over, whereas G2 doesn't care. They just want to kill you.
What a flank from Pluppy. Pluppy taking out 3 people. The Hellfire shotguns and Death Blossom going crazy there. And this is going to buy a lot more percentage for G2.
Yeah, it's really hard to cap the map when you're dead, and that seems to be G2's strategy, that you can't really take control of the point if you're dead, so go ahead and take it for now and be out of position, and then we're just going to take it back whenever we please.
And taking a look at Shadowburn here. Shadowburn does have the Dragon Blade up. And look, the entire team is coming in. Here comes the Dragon Blade. He is getting back in both on Reaper and Zenyatta. Is going to take out Reaper in 3 quick strokes. And here he comes. Will he get the Lucio? Yes, he gets a double kill on the Lucio. Pluppy assisting with the cleanup. And Shadowburn again going crazy off the Dragon Blade. And Flash Rebels finds himself wiped yet again, Hex.
Yeah, and it's Nox, man. I'm telling you, that's the strategy. You have to find an answer to this Zenyatta, even if you have to sell out, even if you give 2 heroes up, because he is really carrying the team. I mean, of course, Shadowburn's doing really well, but it's the orb on Shadowburn that's keeping him alive.
Now taking a look now, we do have Flash Rebels going onto point. TacVisor is down for a Reaver. ID gets a quick pick on Numlocked, and this might be what Flash Rebels needs to sort of get a little bit of positioning here. Shadowburn, though, in the back line is able to take out this Zenyatta. And Pluppy and Mikey with the additional cleanup. And again, even though they're on the point and getting a little bit of percentage, G2 is going to take this back very, very quickly, Hex.
Yeah, that kill feed is looking very one-sided again. So it seems that G2 is just controlling the momentum of the game. And we've seen it. We saw it also on Gibraltar, where if they're being aggressive, they have no problem falling back for a little bit. They don't take fights that they don't want to take.
Yep. Oh, wow. Look at that going on there.
Yeah,
Mikey and
Pluppy. Just wrecking teams.
GG's are called. G2 takes round 1 in a very dominant fashion over Flash Rebels. I thought everything I heard said the Flash Rebels was going to be strong, and maybe they are strong, but with the addition of Pluppy, aka T-Vic, to the G2 roster for today, it just seemed like they brought it to another level, Hex.
Yeah, extremely impressive play. Mostly just the offensive classes, the frag classes, just absolutely cleaning up. A little bit of discordance on the Flash Rebel side here and there. Maybe some of the strategies aren't completely worked out yet. I liked their theory crafting. I really like that they were trying to do interesting stuff. The double Zarya, double Lucio, I think is really interesting, and it could work in the right fashion. But at the end of the day, Nox almost never died, and that means that Genji never died. They had no harassment on the back line, and they just kept smashing into the offensive wall. They never pulled them out of position. They never pulled them back and made them feel threatened enough. So that is something that didn't work out well for him. I would think a Tracer would have done well there.
Yeah, I mean, just something to get rid of the Zenyatta, because I think you bring a good point is that, yes, the Genji-Zenyatta combo is very, very strong, but if you can take out the Zenyatta, suddenly Genji becomes a mere mortal, and you can do a lot more to take him out. But really, I mean, everyone on G2 is a threat. Not only was it Shadowburn, but Pluppy and Mikey were doing a lot of really, really good work in the back, so you focus too much on the Genji, and you're just going to die to Pluppy and Mikey.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. You've got Shadowburn, he's got the orb on him, so you have to focus him down, otherwise he's just going to heal through it. But then even if you focus him down, you're at low health, and oh yeah, there's the Reaper, and oh, there's the 76 across the map too. Just so much consistent damage from them. And not to mention that with the Zenyatta up and that orb on Shadowburn, well, there was also a Discord orb melting people. So I think really they needed to go for more of a dive composition there, and maybe that's what we were trying to see with Zarya. Not really the best dive hero though.
No, definitely not. I mean, it was interesting. Zarya's did buy them a bit of point presence at points in that game, but they just weren't able to convert on the kills. They needed to keep that level of presence, because even if you charge in, people have to back out. If you can't hold it by getting kills and at least trading 1-for-1, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, G2 was really smart on their retreats there. We saw it in Gibraltar where they ended up on the lower grounds pulling back. You called it out as well. I thought it was really interesting. They're like, well, this is a bad situation. Well, let's leave. There's no reason to fight in a bad situation. They're fine. They're patient. It was really patient play that we saw out of them on both maps.
Yep. All right, so we're going to be taking a very short break. This is GosuGamers Overwatch Weekly EU Cup, brought to you by Rocket, DX Racer, and Matcherino. I'm ZP, joined by Hex, and stay tuned. We'll be bringing you the round of 8 in just a moment.